Hi, this video is about the old 1970s Airfix MPC Eagle transporter model. This was all that was available back in 1975-76 when Space 1999 first aired. So it was all you kind of had. Certainly in England, this was it. And it does, it does have its flaws. And I think, certainly for me, and I think for other people, it was kind of a bit of a frustration, having this kit because it just didn't look great. The immediate problem was the cages being filled in and not actually actual rigging in the way they're molded, which is was frustrating, and that seemed like a big hurdle to overcome if you're actually going to make something that looked really good. But I came across an article, a magazine called Sci-Fi and Fantasy Modeler, that had this great article. I wish I could remember who it was by, or I wish I still had the magazine, but basically it talked about some sort of probably bigger ticket problems with the kit that made it look kind of so, because it looked sort of so dumpy. And this sort of said, if you correct this and do that, you can actually get something that looks pretty good. So without a huge amount of work, you could really make it look, look a lot better. Definitely thank you again to the Sci-Fi Fantasy Modeler. There's a lot of websites out there as well that have a lot of information about this kit. Catacombs, the Space 1999 website, has instruction sheet and all sorts of other information. So anyway, this is what the best I can remember what I did when I made mine, which was about 10 years ago now. Sort of following this article. Please do your own research to check some of the details. But I just wanted to sort of put this out there because it may help other people. But for those of you who still have one of these and maybe need a little bit of encouragement to make it as I did, here's maybe some things that aren't as daunting as cutting the whole thing to bits. So first off, the cages. The guy in this article basically said, the cages aren't great, but if you paint the what should be hollow kind of a light grey, not black, but a light grey, imagine whatever shadow colour would be cast from it. If it's white, in shadow it'd be a light grey. That kind of gets you quite a lot of the way there without dealing with all that. The landing, what I'm going to call the landing pad modules, those four sort of blocks around it, actually stick out in the wrong place. They come out in the center of the cage sections, and they should be further to the back at the front and further to the forward at the back, so they're sort of favoring the passenger module. That just as a rough sort of sketch gets the things into the right place. The beak or the command module, again, short of cutting out the windows and doing some other work to it, you sort of accept it for what it is. There's a big sort of ring or a collar on the back of it, which is sort of duplicated on the next section down, and in this scale and certainly the way they molded it just doesn't look great. So this guy again recommended just cut that off so that you have sort of the freestanding beak shape, and then when you attach that to the next section down, you just get more of that sort of eagle silhouette. You can either just put a flat piece of plastic card in there, recessed a little bit, or what I did was I actually had a spare Eagle transporter kit, and I used the aft bulkhead, the part that goes connects to the engines. I used a spare one of those and put it on the front and then stuck the beak onto that, and that worked out pretty good. In terms of the engines themselves, so this is a good one. So on this sort of these two pieces that go together, I didn't put it in these visuals, but there is a ridge that's sort of molded on the spherical pieces, which isn't there on the real thing. So that needs to kind of come off, and that in itself makes those spheres a little smaller. But you also need to cut them free from the piping that holds them in place. And as you can see here on the left, they kind of stick out from, if you imagine a perimeter, drawing a line connecting the four sausage-shaped things in this cross-section. Those spheres stick out way too far. They should be put in much closer. The image I have updated on the far right is maybe not 100% correct, and that's where you need to just double-check what you've got, because the spheres themselves are too big. So you have to sort of, what I did was I just sort of used my best judgment and said, okay, they're already a little bit too big, so if I push them in a little further and just kind of get the look that you feel good about. But basically getting rid of those struts that hold them in place, which shouldn't be there, allowed you to kind of get that whole cluster smaller
and then you can basically add in with bits of plastic card, or I used toothpicks, I think. I can't remember now. And then wire, just garden wire for whatever level of detail you want to put in there for all that stuff around the engines, just to give that kind of busy look there on the real thing. So you can see in this still, it's not great, but it looks a lot better. The passenger module is too deep. So basically the side walls are a little bit too high in themselves, so you need to cut about 1/16th or an eighth of an inch out of the top of those. And then also the sort of angled roof pieces with the windows are they're at too steep an angle. On this kit, they're about a 45-degree angle. They should be more like a 20-degree angle. So you have to kind of cut those free of the end pieces, score it so you can basically bend them up and then fill in the gap again with a more plastic card. There's no surface detail on either end of the passenger module. Obviously you can add to that. I didn't, because I was pretty much going to glue it in place. Again, not mentioning these visuals, the vertical jets on the passenger module are sort of, well, in the wrong place and the wrong shape. They should match the ones on the body of the ship. So if you've got a spare one, I wanted to cast, do an easy resin cast of the vertical jets on the main body and replace those. That would probably help. Okay, so the spine, this is a big one. So part of the reason that the thing looks so sort of boxy is because the spine is sort of a rectangle in cross section, and it should be much more triangular. If you look at the real ones, the angle that the sort of side pieces of that spine gantry go in at a good 45-degree angle probably, whereas on this they're almost straight up or something. So basically, get around that, you have to cut a section, basically cut about an eighth of an inch out of all those crossbars along the top, and then glue it back together with those removed, and then cut the pieces sort of on the lower level that attaches actually to the ship, and score those so you can actually sort of bend the niche, cut something out of that so you can actually bend those in. This is definitely the fiddliest part, and obviously any errors that are made can make it twist or curve, so it was really kind of a fiddly one to do, but you just got to kind of take a deep breath and jump in and do it, and when you sort of correct it, it really goes a long way to help make the thing look like it should. Transfers, they give you the decal sheet. The stuff on the landing pods is good. Retros, I think there was something wrong with the Alpha logos on the kit I had. There either weren't enough or they just looked bad, so I ended up just making some out of on Photoshop and making my own. And then you get these other sort of this red and white checkered squares and a black and red checkered square that go on it, which is not there on the real one. So again, sort of do some research there. I used a lot of spare decals I had lying around and made little bits of tape to put on the framework and stuff, just to kind of really give it that look. Also not indicated here, and I think in the article it probably told you, find some stuff in the spares box to sort of put along inside the spine, in the front and back section, because there's some continued sort of work there, sort of greebly work there. So here's some stills that I found some stills on the internet of just the kit built up as is, and then there's pictures of my converted version for reference. I tried to kind of match the camera angles, and then also I did stills again trying to match the angle of my 22-inch that I just built up, which I consider to be pretty damn accurate and a sort of a good reference. Obviously there's problems with lenses not being the same and everything in these stills, because I'm not a professional at this, but just to kind of give the idea of how these little things can sort of make a difference. So that's basically it. It's cheap and cheerful. It's by no means makes it perfect, but it is pretty much using just stuff in the spares box or things that are readily available, not going out there to buy any garage kit bits and pieces and that sort of thing. So yeah, I just wanted to share this because it really opened the doors for me with this kit when I read that article. And although it's a little bit, as I say, maybe a bit redundant now with these excellent new models coming out, it does sort of again make it, for me, it makes it worth the effort of building the kit if you can do some of these small things just to get it to look a little better. And I have it on the shelf at home, sort of above the 22-inch, and it looks pretty good. It doesn't look bad at all.
That's it. If you've got any questions or comments, please put them down below. And yeah, check out some of the other videos on my channel. All right, thanks a lot. Bye bye.